Aeolian Hall brings a lot of people together. I believe that there's some sort of magic in this place, and I believe that everybody that steps into Aeolian Hall for the first time will feel that magic.
The Aeolian Hall has quite a rich history in our community. It started actually back in the 1940s with a hall that burned down in the 1960s.
Clark Bryan bought the hall in 2004 and began the process of turning it over into a charitable organization. He's been able to do so much with starting El Sistema Aeolian, the Pride Men's Chorus, the Rebel Heart Collective, and again really raising that culture of excellence in East London.
I decided to launch a UNESCO and TED award-winning program called El Sistema here at the Hall. Wasn't sure if it was going to work in this community, but it's a free after-school music program for kids who would not normally have the opportunity to have an enriched music program.
A program like El Sistema has a huge impact on the youth in that it gives them confidence and it gives them the tools necessary to escape the poverty, whichever kind of poverty they're facing in all its different forms.
It's fun and very collaborative sometimes. People provide you a lot here.
I wanted to join because I really never got to be in programs like this because of my disabilities.
We have a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds among our participants, so we have the opportunity for kids all over London from different backgrounds and ethnicities and family backgrounds to be able to be part of a team together without any of those barriers you might see with other traditional organizations.
Music to me is mostly my life because I love listening to it, and so joining this program made it better for me.
I already know 2 instruments. Wait, make that 3 because I know a bit of piano, violin, and a bit of recorder.
Some of the children are from refugee situations or they're immigrants. Just being around them and the joy that they have and learning from them has really, for me, been a personal growth.
Everything that I see in our programming, our education programs, is all about giving opportunities for people to be inspired and get different perspectives through art and culture. We launched Pride Men's Chorus London, what would normally be called a gay men's chorus in the rest of the world. We decided to open it up to men of all gender identifications. Its purpose is to enjoy music and through the experience of performance help open minds and hearts.
Clark and I just thought it would be a really good social experience for the kids to work together with Pride Men's Chorus. We first had that experience when we had a concert with Matt Alber and the men's chorus was singing backup. The
idea of the synergy between the men, many of whom were ostracized when they came out of the closet as gay men, and many of the children in our program, actually many don't have parents. So the idea of coupling up that socially has been a really remarkable thing for me, and we've already heard feedback about it and how it's positively impacting lives.
As soon as we heard and saw what potential that had, we said we got to do this more often. So we have done it twice since. When people perform music in a group, it's more than just music. It's also a group expression.
Aeolian Hall is unique in what it offers to London in terms of the arts and culture, in terms of what it is doing within Old East Village, but also the greater community.
The musical productions are structured with a view to try to make music accessible to everyone, different kinds of music accessible to everyone. So there's jazz, there's classical, there's roots, there's contemporary, there's singer-songwriter. There are all these different facets of this great field of music, and we try and bring some of each into the Aeolian because they each have kind of their own demographic and their own audience.
We launched a new professional orchestra called Rebel Heart Collective, trying to change the lens on classical music and the access point to classical music.
I don't think we should distinguish between classical music and other kinds of music. I think that there's some barriers that are artificial that shouldn't be there. I know that the experience I have of teaching, I've been teaching for a long time, that I have students who say to me that music's made them a better person.
Being a classical pianist and coming from that tradition, I really believe that serious changes need to happen because it is still very much held in the hands of the elite in our society, which was never the intention.
Aeolian Hall is a really professional venue from the way that it's run, the ticket sales, the people that come here, they're all here to listen to music. They're music lovers. So for me, I always get the most nervous when I play here at Aeolian Hall because I feel like as soon as I step onto the stage, the people here are here for a show.
There is a kind of magical resonance to the place, and the moment you first make a note of music, it just rings through the hall in this magical way. And you know right away it's going to be an amazing concert. I hope Aeolian Hall is around for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it's well on its way. I hope they keep the doors open and keep the music flowing because what they're doing there is very, very special. And I can't wait to see what's next.
So I sort of knew what I wanted from a performance hall, and when I walked into this space, I knew this is where I wanted our very first show to play.
You know, singing and making music is really important to me, but it's not all that music is about. It's about getting together.
When I play here, it always feels like I'm with friends. The hall itself is almost like a person to me.
There are all these facets in the Aeolian that are kind of bubbling away, and it's so different than most venues that you would see in terms of what they do. Here it's really limitless. It's a community in itself.
So I've never had a life without music. I can't imagine what that would be like. The hall is wonderful, the volunteers are fantastic, the people that are behind the scene, the ones that are working so hard at the bar, selling tickets.
The volunteer experience here is amazing. It's like extended family. Meet nice people and you become friends with lots of them.
We couldn't survive without the volunteers. The volunteers are the core of Aeolian and El Sistema. There's very few paid positions, so we really rely on the volunteers to do all the other jobs and make the hall run.
This place has a long history of being the center of its community, and I think because of Clark and the people that work here and volunteer here, it continues to have that role in this community.
The Aeolian Hall, it needs volunteers because it's a community centre, a focal point. It needs people who believe in what's happening.
Aeolian has grown in that when I first came, there probably were, maybe half a dozen, 10 shows in a month. Now, some months we can have a show 5-6 nights a week.
The future of Aeolian Hall, in my vision, is strong and bright, and it continues to grow more and more as a place where people come to have their soul nurtured in the performances that they experience.
I feel that we're an organization that's open to change and experimentation and risk-taking. Every program we've launched here, every step we've taken, we've never had the money to do it. Unfortunately, the majority of the world does not work that way. The majority of the world is paralyzed in fear and is not willing to take risks. So we hope to set an example of achievement through risk-taking as a really important role that it's maybe not one that people think of first and foremost, but the story of the Aeolian is basically against the odds.
If somebody is doing something good and it works and it's the right thing for the community, you can't not support it.
It's all about values in the end. It's all about who we are as people. We sometimes lose sight of where we're going, who we are, what we believe. And if the Aeolian can act as a catalyst to remind us of that, that is really in my heart to be at the foundation level for what we do here. Aaron, Tony, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm so excited to catch up with you and see how you're doing. So, are you ready to start?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So you're both songwriters, obviously. You've participated in this songwriter circle. And a lot of people are very interested about the songwriting process. You know, there's the story of Mozart. What we know is that things kind of came fully formed into his head somehow. Of course, we can't talk to Mozart about that process, but Aaron, maybe we'll start with you. How do you go about writing a song?
Well, for me, it's changed a lot over the years. Now that I do it for a living for arts and crafts publishing, I have to kind of be up on the latest genres. So I do listen to playlists. When I'm walking down the street, I listen to the latest top 40, and I wait for a song to inspire me. And then when that song inspires me, I just turn down my volume and I just rate the words and they come out. I don't really use a guitar too much anymore. I feel that using a guitar puts me in my old boxes. So now I kind of just take my melody from the world, take it from what I'm listening to. And that's kind of my new thing. I walk down the street and I just use that inspiration of the playlist. And then that kind of makes sure that I'm writing in modern times, because I like a lot of traditional country. And I think that if I'm listening to modern stuff, it brings my traditional up with the modern and we meet somewhere in the middle. So that's kind of how I've learned my balance. And then I'll usually write the chorus first, and then I'll go back to the verses, and then I'll come home and I'll apply it all to the guitar. And that's kind of my process now.
Wow. So you're really conscious about getting the inspiration. How can you make sure that you don't copy?
Well, yeah, you definitely have to make sure that you don't copy, melodies and stuff like that. But every song's pretty much 4 chords. So I kind of get the feeling, well, on that level, the commercial level, everything's kind of 4 chords. So I just get the feeling, I get the vibe, and I go, oh, okay, this is a cool feeling. I get this. And then the hook needs to come into my head. So once I have the hook, that's usually what I go off. So I could just turn that music down once I have like the feeling brings me the hook. And then I go, okay, we got the tag, we got what the song's called. And then I turn down the music and I write into that. And eventually that song's just gone. And I just stole the essence. I stole the essence. I stole the feeling. I took that inspiration and heart, and it became something very new. And like I could show people the songs aren't the same at all. I think I've just been doing it so long, and I didn't really co-write until a couple years ago. But then I realized, when I was listening to Bruce Springsteen and Steve Earle, I was co-writing the whole time. It was just with those guys. And then I took them away, and it was like I took pieces of all of them. I've always been co-writing. I just didn't understand that. So I've actually regressed back to what I was doing many, many years ago.
So what I find really interesting about this, and what most people don't know, is that we are a product of all of our influences, and every artist steals, constantly, right? There's actually a great book called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, which I really recommend people to read. And it talks about the creative process with a lot of people, you know, and how ideas, you know, you go out looking for them, and then you take and you put them together in different ways, right? Everybody's guilty of that, including the greatest of the classical composers like Bach, you know. Mozart's first 8 piano concertos were actually the works of another composer. People didn't know that for a long time. He just copied out Johann Christian Bach's works and then transcribed them for orchestra. All right, let's turn it over to Tony. Tony, tell us a little bit about your creative process.
Yeah, well, my process is, I would say, probably not as commercially driven, maybe as Aaron's is, but I'm very inspired by going out into nature, the natural world. Those kinds of themes end up coming up a lot in my songwriting. I'm more trying to create a sort of an atmosphere or a mood, kind of almost a word collage or little word puzzles that sort of, when you start to unpack them, they become sort of rewarding, is how I kind of like to sort of approach it. Yeah, I kind of feel like for myself, there's as many ways to write a song as there are songs, you know, that sometimes it's a little, a phrase, an overheard phrase, or something that pops into your head, or it could be, you know, the start of it could be like a sequence of chords on a guitar or a piano or another instrument, or it could even just be a cadence or a rhythm, you know, a meter that pops into mind that sends me down the sort of the rabbit hole of the song. So yeah, for me it's more about sort of just trying to create an environment or a mood or yeah, a word puzzle or a word collage or something like that. Haven't done the co-writing thing, but not necessarily opposed to it, but just hasn't been my thing over the years.
So it sounds a little bit like impressionistic music in a way, where you know, any kind of thing like something you read or something that you experience in nature or an object could be. So you know, obviously Debussy and Ravel, that was sort of the penultimate time for that music. I want to peel away at that just a little bit, Tony. So when you say you get the inspiration, right? What does that really mean? Like,
well, a lot of times it means, I think, just practicing writing, you know, or, you know, just going through, you know, facing the blank page as often as possible, you know, and sort of it's like exercise, you know. I think a lot of maybe songwriters might say the same thing, that when you exercise that part of yourself, it will, you know, it's cumulative and it will yield results eventually, but there's a lot of stuff that goes onto the page for me that would definitely never see the light of day, and you know, I'm not sure anyone would be very interested in that anyway, but for every, you know, for every good song that you come up with, you know, there's you know, that's maybe 10% or something of what you're sort of aiming for, and then just lots of drafts. For me, I just go through draft after draft and really try to focus in on what I want to say, or what I'm trying to say, or the kind of mood that I'm trying to evoke, or the general theme that I'm trying to tie into. And also I should mention too, like I come from more of a literary background than a music background. So for me, the lyrics are where my focus goes at first. And then the music sort of has to pair with it in an interesting way for me.
So just, I'm not getting quite what I want out of this. So I want to talk about popping into your head. Like, how does that work? Like, can you, so, you know, some composers sit down at their instrument and they fiddle and then they write down their melodies. You know, I mentioned about Mozart, the story is that he used to compose at the billiard board, just throwing balls around, right? And it would just all be in his head and he'd be writing it out. So what's it like for you? Do you get fully formed ideas in your head, or do you get little vignettes and put them together?
Sometimes it's, I wish there was a formula actually, because that would just make life so much easier, but there just isn't. And it's just, yeah. And, you know,
I'll show you the formula.
all right. Yeah. It's like Leonard Cohen says, if he knew where that place was, he'd go there more often, you know? It just seems so random sometimes, I guess.
Okay.
But it does take some, you know, it's a combination of sort of getting those thoughts down and then sort of refining them and working at them at the same time and putting together those word puzzles for me. So yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah.
Well, I know Mark Jordan, for example, has told me that like he's extremely dyslexic. Even like writing is difficult for him. So he gets these little microbursts of ideas that are like he tries so hard to weave together, right? That's his process. That I guess is a little more exacerbated because of his dyslexia. So back to you, Aaron. I just want to ask you a little bit more about like that that process of it coming into your head.
For sure. When it comes into my head, I always have to see a picture. When I'm writing music, I have to see a picture. So usually when I'm following my tag, I have the ultimate picture and I just need to paint it leading up to that. That tag is, I'm pushing everything into that direction. I feel like if I start with a verse, I could go off down this road or I could go off down that road. But if I have the tag, I already know what I'm going to paint in my head. It's there. So now I just got to paint the tree. I got to, you know, the landscapes leading here and the tag's the sunrise. I can see the whole picture. So I just always need to make sure that when I'm writing, what I'm seeing in my head is really reduced to something that everybody can palate, you know, take in, and they can see it in their mind. So just because I can see the picture doesn't mean that they can. So sometimes I need to rip it apart and bring it to the lowest common denominator. If I'm writing for the masses, you know, like Tony said, there is a lot of stuff that will never see the light of day that I sit around and I listen to, and it breaks my heart and I might cry in my basement. But yeah, I love that stuff. But if I'm writing for the masses, I definitely need to see the vision, and it needs to be clear to them. I don't, there's no riddles, there's no rhymes. I don't try to hide behind anything. I try to leave it all out there for them.
So okay, so you, instead of talking about sound in your head, you went into pictures. So do you see color and images when you're composing that?
I could definitely see the pictures. You know, Highway Mile, when I wrote Highway Mile, I remember throwing rocks at your window before we had our first cell phones. That's a picture right there. You know, I'm a little bit older. We didn't have cell phones. So when I had to knock on my, you know, I was with my wife at 17. When I had to get a hold of her, I'd have to throw a rock at the window. I couldn't call because her dad would pick up and murder me. So I can see that picture. You know, I remember a line in Highway Mile. We were building a cardboard rocket ship in the backyard. And if that cardboard rocket ship would just take us to the moon, we could capture every dream. I saw that cardboard rocket ship that we used to build when we were kids with duct tape all over it. And we used to dream about going to the moon. I really tried. I can see those pictures, and I hope that people can see that too. And I do get emails and stuff, and they say, wow, man, like, I really get that. And it's because they built that cardboard rocket ship when they were a kid too. They could go right back to that time. And all of us did, you know? So we took the old fridge box and we were in the backyard. I try to do things that are very common to, no matter if you grew up in the 60s, 70s, or the 2000s, whatever. Things that we're all still doing, because I need to connect to everybody. Well, that's the goal anyways. It's never going to happen, but...
So Tony, back to you. So I know my friend Stefan Macchio, when he wrote A New Day for Celine Dion, it was a very folky tune. And he played me, you know, the studio recording of it, and just absolutely gorgeous folky atmosphere to it. And then as he moved forward in the process and the industry decided that they were going to put this dance beat to it and make it, he says, it's no longer mine. So do you have any reflections about that in terms of like, you know, obviously we may have, you know, with the two of you, some sort of very different aspects of the music industry, right? Tony, over to you on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess with my music, I'm trying to like be a little bit challenging and try to bring people to some sort of like reflective state where they're feeling something in the music, but also maybe thinking about, you know, something in a different way as well. So, yeah.
But if you had a producer come to you and say, hey, this is nice, but can you just make it a little more upbeat, a little faster, a little this, a little that? Have you had any of that in your experience at all, Tony?
Well, you know, there's been a few producers that I've, you know, met with and tried to work with in that capacity, but it never sort of fully felt right. So I've always kind of just chosen my own path, even when I've had access to some bigger name producers, and that's just felt right to me. And I guess it's more of like, you know, I guess where I'm going is maybe more a little bit more of an independent route. Of course, with a great team that's helping me along the way. Yeah, I'm not sure I would. I don't think that would sit right with me if I had some. It's just not where I'm coming from, you know. And it's an interesting thing to mention folk music too, because I think that to me really represents a sort of a kind of music that's meant for, you know, everybody, but also it's almost it presents itself in a more intimate way, I guess, you know, and that it's maybe I've always been kind of conflicted about presenting that kind of sad, slow, and music to a large amount of people on big stages or whatever, because it just seems like it's meant for small groups and small rooms. But I really love the spirit of folk music, and that's where it kind of finds its way into my work as a sort of a, you know, a tradition, I guess, or a way of seeing, you know, an ideology of some sort. Yeah.
So Aaron, back to you. I want to just talk briefly about your recording process and where you like to record and how you go about that.
Well, yeah, with my recording process these days, it's much different from anything I've ever done. I used to record at the Sugar Shack a lot, and I would just, you know, pick my musicians and say, hey guys, let's get in there. I got 10 songs. Let's get on the floor and let's just rip and see what happens. But nowadays, I rate hundreds and hundreds of songs all the time. So all these hundreds of songs, my producer has to go through and go, that's the one. That's the one. So he'll pick them out. He knows exactly what I want, and he'll record it down in Oshawa. He'll send it back to me, and he goes, "Okay, come on down and sing." So that's the way my music works these days. I kind of present him the song. I just give him a work tape. I don't even demo it up, and then, you know, he'll send me different versions and go like, as long as it sounds in the vein of Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, something like that, he knows I'm going to say, that's great. But I'm not a producer. I'm glad that that's totally off my plate. And I love being surprised with, whoa, I didn't know you could go there. Because at the end of the day, I feel like a good song's a good song, and it could lend itself to any beat. It can go anywhere. A good country song's a good rock song. So that's what my producer's taught me, and he'll send it back and I'll just go, whoa, I really didn't think that you would go there with that. Highway Mile, that one I had that one in my head. It was kind of folky and it turned out the way that I thought it would, but all the rest of them, I'm just like, wow, that's better than I ever could expect it. I'm glad I didn't say do it like that, because I like where you went there, right? I see it as two totally different arts that I don't have time to be on the production side. I don't have time to learn that art and to be To be honest, I don't think I'm good enough at that. I've always just been a guy who wanted to write songs all day, every day. The rest of it, I got to leave that to the professionals. I'm a hack at that.
It's interesting. Thank you. Tony, how about you? Where do you like to record and what's your process look like? I mean, I know a little bit about this, right?
For sure. With my group, since I started first recording almost 20 years ago now, it's always, I've only been in the proper studio once to record an album. And over 7 or 8 albums, they've all been recorded in different locations. So we'll basically set up a studio inside a space, like a church or a historic building of some sort. You know, Clark, as you know, we did some recording in the Aeolian Hall, and set up gear there years and years ago.
Yes, I remember that very well, getting up in the middle of the night and, you know, listening to the drums track being set down. I remember very well. I was trying to sleep.
I think that we must not have known that you were there.
Oh, no, I think you did.
I don't know. It was a long time ago. My eternal apologies.
No. It was fine. I learned a lot.
but see, that's the perfect zone for me, is like that nighttime, you know, quiet recording in an empty building, you know, nice acoustics. Churches are really great for that. Our most recent album we recorded in Bishop Cronin Church, also in London, and those kind of spaces just add that extra layer of something that just takes it to a very interesting and special place for me as a musician and as a singer. And I think it also draws a certain kind of performance out of musicians and singers in those spaces too. So that's become really important to me, to have that sort of that sonic layer of atmosphere and acoustics that adds to the recording process for me. So and that goes on and on, you know. There's no shortage of really cool, interesting, vibey, great sounding spaces to record in it. And as far as just the recording process, that's become just a really important thread, I guess, over the years. Hey, we should very quickly shout out to Marty, who is part of this songwriting circle, who couldn't be here for this chat, but what a great songwriter she is as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So you're all so talented. I guess I want to go back to this composing thing, because I'm just speaking to people who imagine that they could never do it, right? And I always say to people, if you can hear Happy Birthday in your head, you have some sort of sense that we have an inner ear, right? And that it can be developed, right? And Beethoven is the best example of that, because he went deaf, and Fauré as well. And they were able to write masterpieces because they had developed that inner ear. From what I hear from both of you, it reaffirms my view on developing anything. It requires a lot of time and effort and tenacity to develop those skills. So I just wanted to fit that in there for our listeners, because people imagine that they could never write anything, and I think that's there's always the baby steps involved in that. I want to finish off with something not political, but it could be political. We have an election coming up. And actually at the Aeolian, we hosted the debates for London with Rogers TV. And of course, we had protesters outside and 3.5 weeks of hate, messages and email and social media because of our double vaccination policy. But we won't go there. I want to actually go to the arts. If you had an opportunity to speak to all of the politicians right now about the needs for the arts right now, as we are still in this pandemic, you can talk about recovery, but honestly, you look around the world and it's very tenacious, right? Like, we don't know if we're going to go backwards or forwards with this. I'll start with you, Aaron. Would you have anything that you would like to tell them all?
For sure. I would, for me, music is aligned with mental health. The reason I became a songwriter is because I couldn't take the world around me. It was a lot of chaos growing up in my household, and you know, a lot of things going on that I would sooner rather not know were there. So I insulated myself every day since the age of 13 or 14 in a songwriting cocoon. And I honestly believe that having that is the reason I'm still around. I think there are a lot of lonely people out there. There are a lot of kids that maybe don't feel like they belong. But if you can listen to a Bruce Springsteen song and his words can touch you, you don't feel like you're alone. So people don't understand, it's not just music, it's life. And when you feel that, when you walk around all the time and you don't feel that, you feel sad, you feel all these other things, and you feel a spark when you listen to Bruce. A wonderful example is a lady called Rachel Yamagata has a song called Elephants, and it's one of my all-time favorite songs. And every time I listen to Elephants by Rachel Yamagata, I cry because I'm connected with her. I think music makes a better world. And for those that have a hard time feeling at home, whether you're in school, I didn't feel like I belonged at school. I really don't feel like I belong most of my life. But when I was writing a song, when Steve Earle was talking to me, I always felt like I belonged, and I felt their pain, and we talked to each other. Even though they weren't there, we talked to each other. So that's how important I think music is. And if we forget about it, we're going to lose kids, plain and simple.
So you're telling the politicians what then?
I'm telling the politicians that music's a lot more important than you might think it is. And we need major funding in that. If you want to look at it as a psychology thing, if you want to look at it as helping mentally, that's all wrapped in there. We need major funding to music, major funding. Kids the way I grew up, it was hard to afford a guitar. Those kids can't always afford the instruments. We need to provide that. I guarantee music saves lives, and we need to start seeing it as that way. I know you guys provide a lot of instruments, Clark, and you guys are taking care of that, but we need major funding.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Tony, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the chance to do a few shows outside over the course of the summer, and we talk about frontline workers and the importance of people that are keeping our everyday going. But after one of the shows, someone came up to me and said, "You know what? You're a frontline worker in a way, because we need music in our lives, and we need people. We're just so happy to come together again. And there's this social aspect to gathering to appreciate music together. And that extends to, not only musicians, but also like venues, music venues, places for people to play, especially small and mid-level venues are having an extremely rough time keeping afloat during the pandemic. And I would maybe call more attention to that, because if we lose our venues, especially from my perspective, if we lose those small and middle level venues where younger musicians and new musicians and established musicians can go to perform, then we're really doing we're doing ourselves, our society, a disservice. So I think that's aside from helping our musicians through this time, the venues for sure need our support.
Well, I thank you personally for that. So wonderful advice. And I think what I hear from both of you is that it's often underestimated, the power of creativity and specifically music, and how it can hold people's inspiration and give them direction during all of these challenges. And my goodness, we have a lot of them right now. So
for sure,
I want to thank you both so much for your time today. Again, for taking time and for participating in the Phoenix Session concerts. hopefully very soon we'll get you right back on that stage with a live audience. We've got a whole bunch of programming in November and December with in-person stuff, and I'm just doing this. I don't know what to say. It's a tough one. So we'll be in touch just as soon as we can. And until then, looking forward to the concert, and thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. My name's Tony Dekker. I'm here with Aaron and Marty. We're going to sing some songs for you tonight. I thought that I would start off tonight with a new song. I was in the studio yesterday, actually all day, with my friend Joe Lipinski in St. Catharines, and recorded a version of this song. I'm not sure if it's finished yet, and I'm still working on a title. The title originally had darkness in it, but now I'm thinking that I should kind of maybe turn towards the light on this one and maybe call it something to do with moonlight. But I've never played it in front of people before other than Joe, so I thought I'd give it a try. Shadows get behind, darkness stay away, and leave me alone. Moonlight stay above, that I might see the way. Don't strand me and leave me alone. Has the beast been lost in a watery fight to make it right, or hope to reach a golden peach on a gauzy Friday night, drawing through the last look that I have. Shadows get behind, darkness stay away, and leave me alone. Moonlight stay above, that I might see the way. Don't strand me and leave me alone. Am I lucid enough? Is it obvious? Right in front, this whole time, am I looking hard enough and walking narrow enough and rising high enough to know you this way? Shadows get behind, darkness stay away, and leave me alone. Moonlight stay above, that I might see the way. Don't strand me and leave me alone. Don't strand me and leave me alone.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I dig it.
It's getting there. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
They all are, right? What is it about playing the new song? I wanted to play my new song too. We want to do that all the time. For me, that's never a good idea. But I feel like if I don't mess up the new song, then the rest of the set will be okay.
It's a good way to start. This is a great way to start, actually. Yeah. You got a new song?
Yeah, I got a new song I'm gonna do. This one's currently in production. It's funny because, you know, the bigger this thing gets and the more I gotta be away from the family. Like if I was a 20-year-old, that'd be great, but now I am what I am. We'll keep that age off the table. But, you know, the older I get, this is the way that I really feel. This is a song called Coming Home. And now I realize, like, it's never been the road. The most important thing's always been the coming home. And when we wrote this one, I wrote it with some buddies from Demolition down in Nashville. And I was frustrated. And I said, let's just throw the Aaron Allen vibe out of it and let's just write a hit. Let's just try to write that smash, you know? And this is what came out. And after this, I just realized there's no escaping myself. Fell in love at 17, with just 2 kids in that backseat. Look where we are now, 2 of our own, in a small town, raising their eye while I'm chasing that dream. Call me about all the little things I sit here wishing wasn't missing. Then I hear them through the phone, and I know it's never been the drink, the smoke, or the 2 a.m. dive bar shows, the cash, or the fame. It's hearing your fuzz with my last name. It took some years for me to realize what really matters most. It's never been the road. It's always been the coming home. To that place that we built together. You make them like that, it lasts forever. Back porch summer nights, I can still see you there when I close my eyes. And every minute is a blessing. You know I'd be there in a second. It's never been the drink, the smoke, or the 2 a.m. dive bar shows, the cash, the fame. It's hearing your fuzz with my last name. It took some years for me to realize what really matters most. It's never been the road. It's always been the coming home. Every minute is a blessing. You know I'd be there in a second. It's never been the drink, the smoke, or the 2 a.m. dive bar shows, the cash, or the fame. It's hearing your fuzz with my last name. It took some years for me to realize what really matters most. It's never been the road. It's always been the coming home.
Nice.
Nice one.
So that's a new song too?
Brand spanking new. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Nice. I know the christening of a new song, sometimes I feel like you have to just perform it and get it over with, right? Because then the next time you play it, it's going to be a little bit better.
That's right.
Right? So you just get her done.
It's evolving.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, you inspired me to play something a little on the lovey side. This is newer for sure. It's not the first time I've played it, but I think with where our world has been sitting in the last couple of years, you know, you start to rethink the things that are important. And yeah, whether it's coming home or just the people you have and the privilege and the luxuries, all those kinds of things.
Television is blaring, but it keeps me company. The words it has don't fill my soul, but the voices they do feed. Silence, it can be nice sometimes, just the sounds coming from the street. But when the deep dark night sets in my mind, sometimes it wanders too free. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. Some days can be so long, turning circles to keep the faith. Waiting only takes longer when you stare it in the face. These four walls, they can keep me warm, they can feel like home, like peace. But they can keep me from myself, and my mind has other places to be. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. And I should know better, I should know how to keep the peace, and I could be stronger, but I just can't sit here patiently for this to end. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. I need somebody to lean on, someone to hold me tight, someone to tell me when morning comes that everything will be alright. It's gonna be alright.
Beautiful.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need that, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Great message.
Thank you.
I want to mention how nice it is to be in the Aeolian Hall. This is one of my top favorite venues in the world. Because of the way that it is, but also the people behind it. And it's such a thrill to just be able to come and sing a few songs, even though we're audience free tonight. It's still super, super nice to be here. And I know you guys probably feel the same way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
I'm going to try a song of mine called The Real Work. Yeah. I guess it's a song about how there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we kind of take for granted, you know, and I think that's another thing, kind of like tying back into what you were saying, Marty, is that, you know, a lot of stuff goes on that just helps our everyday, you know, exist, that doesn't necessarily have a microphone in front of it or a platform. So this is a song that's sort of about that, I guess. Yeah. Here we go.
Passes my eyes and stuns my senses. The outside world flows through these fences. They let out more than they take in. They bleed me out and I can't staunch them. My mouth lets out more than it takes in. It leads me out and I can't help it. It is nothing but a muscle flexed, a swirling sea of now and next. And the world was upside down, inside out this whole time, going the wrong way. North was inverted, the direction the plan got me turned around. I was on the right path, but couldn't feel the ground. And so started the test, retracing all the steps. When was the first strike? Which dances were learned in an ever-changing suit, retailored with patches of a life blind and careless, popping stitches, unbeing, unhappening, becoming untangled, dulling the edges and scaling transitions. And faith is a pattern composed by the wind, all movement, one movement, it reaches everything. And the real work is to be it, believe it, with each new set of eyes and the visions they provide. Be the taste, the warmth, the measure and the glow, by embracing it all and then letting it all go. And the real work is never done and has no clear beginning and shows no result, no losing, no winning.
was. Wow.
Thank you.
I can hear the applause. It's raging.
We're not completely on. We have Chris here. We have Cindy here. Yeah.
Definitely. We're gonna take some time to tune. So we'll tell the story of this one. So I had a record come out called Highway Mile, and this was a song. I share a folder with my producer, a Dropbox folder, and he just goes, "Put all your songs, put all your ideas in there." And this was one. Usually when I like a song, I'll bring it forth and go, "Hey, pay attention to this one here." And this is one I didn't do that with. And he was on his way home from an award show or something, and he called me and he goes, "What's this song, Highway Mile?" I said, "Well, that's just a song about my wife and myself. Like, nobody wants to hear that. It's too personal. It's not really, it doesn't have that radio quality that I'm trying to go for these days." And, you know, it just proves I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. He goes, "That's the song right there." And it's a song that I didn't think much of, and it became the title of the record. And this record, I just won Album of the Year at the CMAO Ontario Country Music Awards the other night. And to see the name Highway Mile up on the big screen and that people really appreciated this album blew me away. But thank God this was on there, because my wife and I have been together since the age of 17, and it's just literally our story. It goes like this. I remember throwing rocks at your window back before my first cell phone. We would drive around this town trying to find ourselves. We were lost, didn't wanna be found. Ooh, things ain't what they used to be. Ooh, won't you take a ride with me? Honey, let's get in that car tonight. Pretend it's still 2005. Forget about this world for a while. Let's get lost on that highway mile. Let's get lost on that highway mile. I remember baseball cards and big league chew, Huffy bikes and old cartoons on Sunday mornings when I was a kid. And our heads were full of great big dreams, most of which we would achieve if this cardboard rocket ship could just take us to the moon. Won't you take ride with me? Honey, let's get in that car tonight. Pretend it's still 2005. Forget about this world for a while. Let's get lost on that highway mile. Let's get lost on that highway mile. Honey, let's get in that car tonight. Pretend it's still 2005. Forget about this world for a while. Let's get lost on that highway mile. Honey, let's get in that car tonight. Pretend it's till 2005. Forget about this world for a while. Let's get lost on that highway mile. Yeah, let's get lost on that highway mile.
Awesome, man.
Beautiful. 17, eh?
17, yeah. It's been a long road.
Nice.
Before there were cell phones, if you want to do the math. I think Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell had a cell phone, but I didn't.
I feel like maybe 2005 just rhymes there.
It was 1995, but...
Too many syllables.
Yeah. They go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Some of these kids weren't born in 95. Let's bring it into the 2000s.
They won't get it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it
Sounds
seems
a-
like long enough ago, though, right? Like it's got, like
Yeah.
it's a great marker, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was almost that long ago.
Yeah.
I think 95 would have been too long ago, so it's a happy medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
95 almost sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, you know, knowing that you were 17, that's also rather unbelievable. It's pretty great. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. She's been putting up with it for a lot of years now.
As we do. Oh, no. Listen, I can't talk, I tell you. Man. Well, it's funny, these songs that come out and you think like, what's that anyway? That's not a song. That's not anything anybody's really going to want to listen to. I find I end up like reworking a lot of songs. You know, I'll write a song and then I'll think, what if I play it in this key? What if I play it in minor? What if I do it this way? You know? So this next song is one that I've rewritten a couple of times. So this is going to be a new iteration of this song. Anyway. And I mentioned it to you guys already, so if you feel like joining in, you can, but no pressure, totally no pressure. At the same time, I feel like, I'm sure you guys can relate to this, but certainly as artists, it's been a wild ride in the last little while. For those people who were busy, I'm sure they went through a different ride. I went into hiding, more or less. I just kind of sat at home and questioned everything around me. And, it's so crazy. All these things that are happening all at once right now. I feel like there's a lot like bubbling at the surface right now for us to think about. So this next song was definitely something that I felt I needed to get out in terms of how we've been talking to each other, how we've been relating to each other, and how now we're relating to each other with respect to all this sort of divisiveness that's going on, and how it's putting people's relationships at the test, and how it's putting communities to the test. And anyway, so this was something I felt the need to put together. Does it take the edge off to say the things you do? Does it make it feel right? Does it make it feel like you? Can you take a breather? Just see how it would feel. And just say nothing and hear the others in the room. Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? A light that shines on visions of the past. We were going fast there, making each other mad. Nobody was listening, nobody was heard. But we have the time now, we have the time to learn. Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? We didn't ask for this, we knew not how it'd be. What is it to be simple? What is
to be free. Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Can it be now? Can it be for good? Can it be proud? Can it be understood? Thanks, guys. That was great.
Goosebumps there.
Woo.
That was nice.
Nice.
It's a nice one.
Thank you.
Wow.
I was on the topic of like reworking songs and trying different keys and stuff. I found an old tour book that I had scribbled a draft of a song in the back, and it was like the first kind of draft, first kind of spilling out of ideas for this song, and some of the words were pretty radically different. It was for this song, "Your Rocky Spine," of mine that I was actually recorded here in the hall many years ago. But like one of the things that I noticed was that like there's a line that says, "The glaciers made you, and now you're mine." But in this first draft, instead of glaciers, it was volcanoes. The volcanoes made you. And now you're mine. And I just thought, like what was I thinking? And it was like the first verse was the last verse, and the middle verse wasn't written yet, but it was basically there, And it just got me to thinking how many drafts we go through, and how it's a bit of a sculpting process a lot of the time. And sometimes, you don't need all that stuff. Sometimes you need less, and sometimes you just need to kind of like work through it to get to where you need to go, and try a bunch of different things until you kind of figure out what you really want to say. I was thinking of playing that song, but I don't know. It's become one of those songs that I play, pretty much every time. I guess now I have to play it, right? Yeah. I wasn't really intending to, but maybe I will. But I'll play the original version. This was back from many years ago. It's amazing what you find. I was going through some old boxes of stuff, as we are maybe want to do in these down times. So anyway, okay, I'll give it a try. It's called "Your Rocky Spine."
I was lost in the lakes and the shapes that your body makes, that your body makes, that your body makes, that your body makes. And the mountains said I could find you here. They whispered the snow and the leaves in my ear. I traced my finger along your trails. Your body was the map. I was lost in it, floating over your rocky spine. The glaciers made you, and now you're mine, floating over your rocky spine. The glaciers made you, and now you're mine. laws like purity against resolve. I could tell then and there we were formed from the clay and came from the rocks for the earth to display. They told me to be careful up there where the wind blows a venomous rage through your hair. They told me to be careful up there where the wind rages through your hair.
Nice. It's nothing like a good old classic from Tony Dekker.
I think Glaciers works better than Volcanoes, though. Although, I mean, it's a great, maybe there's a germ of another song in there, because what a great thing. You see that volcano that erupted in Iceland? There's got to be something else in there.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah.
That song there, I could kind of, when you're doing all that finger picking, I can kind of hear all the instruments in my head. It's strange. You know, there was kind of like a symphony going on in my head. I could hear banjos and chopstick pianos and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I dig that.
It's a clawhammer kind of style.
Yeah. I like that. All right, so we'll move on to this one here. I always got to play this one. So about 3 years ago, I really started co-writing. I didn't co-write before that. And my producer sent me down to Nashville, and I had this song called Where Music Comes From. And it was my second co-write ever. And I remember the first co-write did not work out very well. That's okay, though. So, you know, I was taking this opportunity. I want to make the most of it. So I remember standing outside of the publisher, this guy's house, and I was going in. And I remember, I've never done this before. And I sat there and I took a moment, and I just said, thank you, universe, for sending me here. There's got to be a reason. And when I go inside here, please help me write this. And please be with me on this. And we went in there, and I showed my friend Jimmy Thau. He's in a band called Sons of Daughters. I showed him this idea for where music comes from. And he totally got it right off the hop. This was a song that I wrote. For me, music doesn't come from my voice or from the guitar. The music comes from the experiences that I've had. You know, when my kids were born, I was playing John Prine and Tom Waits, and I'll always remember that because those songs were the soundtrack to them being born. And this was the whole essence of the song. So anyways, he kind of got it right off the bat, and he took it and we wrote it for about 45 minutes, and it was done. And I knew we had something special. And then I sat down and I talked to him for about another hour and a half. And he goes, every morning I wake up, I give thanks to the universe. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I just did the same thing outside your front door. I've never done that before. And he said, I do the same thing, man. You got to be grateful. You got to do things like that. And now not a day goes by where I don't thank the universe for being here, just in case it's my last. But when he said that, I knew we had something special, and I sent it to my producer that night, and he goes, this is going into production right now. And this is kind of the song that really changed everything for me. We sent it to radio. It did very well there, and Apple Music playlisted the heck out of it, and this is the song that started it all. So I always got to play this one. Give thanks. You got a dollar, I got a jukebox. Let's get this whole singing along. If you got a record, I got one better. Hand me that guitar, I'll play you a song. It's 4 chords, someone sing a melody. It's a throwback to the way it used to be. It's a lyric, it's a line, take you back in time to the soundtrack of you and I. It's in my bones, it's in my blood. It's that sound growing up. I feel it deep down in my soul. Yeah, that's life coming through the stereo. It's that needle on a vinyl, get you every time. It's your heart beating like a drum. That's where music comes from. Remember that old jam that you were spinning? I was too busy running red lights. Life is a highway, need every driving way too fast to get you home on time. It's in my bones, it's in my blood. It's that sand growing up. I feel it deep down in my soul. Yeah, that's life coming through the stereo. It's that needle on a vinyl, get you every time. It's your heart beating like a drum. That's where music comes from. That's where music comes from. Oh, yeah. It's a band in the bar, it's a dance in the dark. Everything that I know comes from those 12 notes. It's in my bones, it's in my blood. It's that sound growing up. I feel it deep down in my soul. Yeah, that's life coming through the stereo. It's that needle on a vinyl, get you every time. Get your heart beating like a drum. That's where music comes from. That's where music comes from. That's where music comes from.
Nice. I know, right? Where does it come from? Oof.
Experience.
Yeah.
Life.
Yep. It's funny, I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier about just like playing in these song circles and how, I think we've done a few of them, and finding like all the different ways they can happen. And I always find it's interesting feeling sort of inspired by like what the other people have played and what I now kind of want to share or how it ties into. And often there's a lot of links, so it's kind of nice that there's all those links between where artists are coming from, right? It's funny too, like my experience as a performer has been doing a lot of different things, not just as a songwriter, but I've performed jazz, I've performed opera, I've performed a lot of stuff over the course of my lifetime. And so I have often experiencing music through so many different genres as well. And so I find I sit down to write stuff and I'm kind of confused a lot of the time. Like, is this a pop song? Is this a rock song? What is this? What's happening right now? And I can't always kind of nail it. And I find like the industry makes that really tough because I'm like, well, I'm supposed to nail this down, right? Anyway, so it's interesting that you say that. It's like, well, it just comes. It's just what comes naturally to you, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I thought I would pull this out. This is a new song. I'm going to test this and see how it goes. And one of the things that's a big part of my life is I'm a music teacher. I teach in school, right? And so I'm thinking a lot about my kids, my own personal kids, but then also like, what are the things I'm sharing with my students? Like music's a great opportunity for me to share so many things about the world. We can get into great conversations about things you would never think to get into, right? So I feel like part of my purpose or my responsibility in some way is to use that to my advantage. So sometimes I find I'm writing these songs that I think like, I just want this big choir of children to be singing behind me, which might be a pipe dream, but My daughter and I have been working on this song. And so I thought maybe it would be fun to pull this one out. It's, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? Who knows if it'll ever be anything? But we like singing it together, so that's all that really matters, right? All right, let's see how this goes.
We are caught up in ourselves, telling lies we don't know how to be real, to be free. We all want something more, something walking through that door, telling us to come outside. Standing up to our minds, making light and making fires. Up in smoke, we come alive. We are taught to play it safe, saving up if just in case. Now it's time, and now he's here.
There it is. It's the christening, right?
Amazing.
Nice.
That is very lovely.
Cool.
So you haven't recorded that song or anything yet?
No.
Oh, it's got a really great hook.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. I don't know if you guys run into this or not, but sometimes there's a hook, but there's no words. So that's sometimes one of the things that happens to me. So I figure like there's got to be a trumpet or something. Somebody's going to play that hook. That's all that matters,
Yeah.
right?
Don't hold out on the children's choir though.
All right.
I hear it. Yeah.
Can be done.
Totally. Yeah.
It does.
Well, I guess that maybe wraps it up for us then. Hey.
Yeah.
I'll say then, thank you very much again to the Aeolian Hall for having us and the Phoenix Sessions, which I'm very proud to be a part of. I'm sure you guys are too. It's been an interesting year. It's been a weird year, but it's nice to be on stage again and sharing songs. Really nice to play with you guys. Nice to meet you, Aaron. I haven't met you before, and nice to see you, Marty, again.
Yeah.
This is super nice.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Any final words?
No, just thank you very much. It was great to play with you guys. Like rounds are always special, and I think we all offer something a little bit different here, and it was really cool to just sit back and take it in, you know. This was cool. It shouldn't be the last time.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Nice. Thank you, Aeolian.